It's a much higher standard than good luck.
Pretty much put it up.
Michael, yeah, you caught that. It's like,
Yeah, we did.
what was it? There's this thing I just saw on the internet, which is like this spot the error. And I must have been 5 minutes. It was a line of text and I could not figure it out. And I thought this is just BS. They're just messing with me. And I went into the comments and first thing I saw was like, oh man. And I gotta send it to you because it's really good.
Oh, when I was.
I'm using something completely different, but like a proofreading error that you just, nobody gets right.
Well, I wouldn't publish this. I'd send you a private message, hey, Joe.
Yes, I think it did.
And it's not, I said, whoever put it in a comment.
Oh, just, no, I'm talking about something completely different. I'm talking about a puzzle I saw online.
Oh, okay.
All right, let me get,
Who's doing cooking?
I don't know, one Levita place is, that might be Dominic.
Well, I
Oh.
prefer this one. In case you want.
We have the lights down for the presentation later, right? Are you gonna put something on the screen now or no?
No, that's first film.
That's for Tomas. Okay, let's get do we have the lights on? Is there any lights that, let's start.
Back.
I'll give it a shot.
Who wants to do that?
I got it. Yeah, these are all.
Who wants to do that?
Ah, it's reachable for here. That's fine. That's good. That's good.
The last one is.
We on the internet? Well, hello, everybody. You can now hear my voice. We're using a very rudimentary microphone system just so people can hear us because we are not turning the air conditioner off today, just so people can hear us, because that would be horrible. We're having a workshop right now. It's an informal meeting to discuss the status of the ETPA opt-in, as well as the status of the potential voluntary side agreement that we're working on with landlords that would that they would opt into to avoid being subject to the ETPA's rent renewal caps and rental caps if it were put into place. I did put together a 2-page document that you can find on my Facebook if you're watching online. Or you can find, we have copies here for people who are in the room, that lays out a comparison on one side of rental regulation regimes, the current law, the state-based good cause eviction law, the ETPAs would apply in NIAC, and then the proposed ETPA side agreement. And then on the back of that page is a term-by-term comparison of the ETPA and the voluntary side agreement, and then which side, in my opinion, which of those characteristics weigh in favor of doing one or the other. We have not agreed to anything with any landlords. There is not even a written agreement at this point. There's just a set of terms that we are volleying back and forth. Shifting over. So we're looking for comments. We're looking for feedback from the public as to their thoughts on this, and we will take it into account as we continue on this process. So I'll just first, if anybody from the board want to speak on this, I'll hand you the mic.
No, not yet.
I think that the side agreement is excellent and we should make it happen as soon as possible.
We're working on it. We have another mic. Where's the other mic? That's up there. Okay, good. So if anybody from the public wants to weigh in, it would help actually if you grab the mic. You can stand up at the podium or you can grab the mic and sit where you're comfortable. That's up to you. If you want to share your thoughts. Alex. Yeah, you're on.
So, my concern is that I saw this for the first time this morning.
Just put the mic up a little closer.
This morning I saw it for the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
There are a lot of things in it. And I don't think there's been, I simply can't speak very coherently in this tonight.
Yeah. Let me turn up the mic. It's okay. It's easy to. It's easy enough. Okay, try again.
No, can you hear me?
I can stand next to you.
Would it be possible just to move the chairs up here so we're all closer, because they're not being recorded, it's not an official meeting.
Well, it's on the thing, right?
Oh, it's being recorded?
Well, it's being on, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to sit up closer, that'd be great. Then we can talk a little more intimately and not worry so much about the mics. Alex, go ahead. You were saying you haven't enough time to really get.
Number one, not enough time for me or anybody else from the public, because they haven't seen it, that you like, I would assume, comment on this intelligently, coherently. We need a little bit of time. That's number one. Number two, I have immediate concerns about enforcement, both of the cap and of the fair housing requirement. How that's going to work.
The affordable housing, not fair housing.
I'm sorry.
Just make sure, because
That's what I meant
we
to
have a
say.
fair housing requirement anyway.
The
It's
third-
implicit.
The third thing is this affordable housing requirements. Townwide median income at $100,000. What does that mean?
That's, we modeled the affordable housing requirement on our existing law that applies to new construction rental buildings, which is set for affordability is, might be often a little bit on the numbers. I think it's 35% of the adjusted, I'm sorry. You take the adjusted median income in Rockland, the maximum, you then figure the affordable level is 65% of the AMA, the adjusted, the median income. The median income is about $100,000 right now in Rockland. So the 65% would be about $65,000. And the affordable rent would be pegged at about 30 to 35% of that income.
Okay.
So about it ends up being about $25,000 a year, $20,000 a year, so about a little less than $2,000 a month, which would be the affordable, which is not really affordable in the sense of like accessible affordable, but it's what the affordable level is in terms of restricting it to the below market rent.
And then finally, I mean, I don't know how much these are terms. I assume that they've been discussed over and over with the landlords. But tenants have had no choice to voice whatever it says they have. This is a workshop. There's going to be a public hearing presumably on this at some point.
Yes, I mean, well, the plan today is to start that conversation.
Okay.
We got to the point, we weren't at the point with this up until recently that it was worth putting it out there because we hadn't gotten far enough along. But I understand you're saying that the tenants didn't have a voice. I mean, we have listened to the tenants talk about their concerns for the last year. We went into this meeting negotiating. I mean, Pascal and I were doing this. We went into this advocating for the interests of the citizens, of the constituents in Nyack.
I got that.
So we negotiated, but we said all along, we got to report back. We got to get input from our bosses, and that's you all. So that's what we're doing, starting to do today, and we'll continue to do it. This is not going to get done by the next meeting, so there'll be plenty of time for people to digest this and give us feedback and come to the next meeting and give us more feedback.
So one more question in terms of enforcement.
Yeah.
You clearly say here that you would prefer local enforcement. I understand that. Will there be at some point enough staff, enough resources to enforce both of those provisions for housing affordability and especially the rent cap?
Yeah, what we were thinking in terms of enforcement was some form of reporting mechanism that they had to report all leases and give us copies of them. And then it would be somebody's responsibility to then just review them to make sure they comply with the requirements that we have. Now, it may be that it's going to require more. We have talked about the idea of putting in a $20 per unit surcharge on the units, which is what the ETPA does to be able to establish enforcement and to cover the cost of enforcement. We have talked about that. It's not a major term. We want to get the major terms locked down before we figure out how to do the other things. Suffice to say that the ultimate enforcement on this, hopefully, is going to be that we will pass the ETPA, and if you don't comply with this, then you get the ETPA. Like, this is voluntary, but it's voluntary on both sides. So if they're not going to comply, then the agreement would go away for that landlord, and that landlord would then be, the backdrop is subject to its ETPA. If we can get the vacancy survey at the numbers that we want to get.
Okay, so give me one more.
Sure.
So we have a timeline here. We're having this is a workshop. And then how much time would we have to respond, voice our concerns, whatever it is? How do you see this happening? The timeline for the process?
I would say that we have a month till, actually like 5 weeks till our next meeting. We have a bit of a break, so we have 5 weeks to our next meeting, which is like August 22nd. And then our next meeting after that is like this, like probably 3 weeks later in early September. I would say that if people did want to bring thoughts to our attention, and I would say not necessarily by the next meeting, but the meeting in September, they should probably get us. We won't be doing anything before. We won't be having any, there won't be any decisions made before then. So there's plenty of time to get the voice heard.
And this is, I don't know if you can answer it or if you wish to, but there was a process. Obviously, it's a balancing of interests, right? The increases are higher, you get something in return. How did you come up with 3%? Why 3? I
We
mean,
negotiated for a lot lower, and that was where we ended up at 2.5 for the first 2 years and then 3%. It just is a matter of, we started low, they started high, and, you know, there was a point at which, you know, our hope with this was, we didn't look upon and say, well, we're gonna try to get the 0 to 1% that the board has been approving from the county law, because like, that's just not, I mean, the landlords have no reason then to do a deal with us and give us 10% of their units as affordable housing if we're gonna just stick to whatever there. So we knew it was gonna be a little bit more. Our goal was to keep it under 3%. That was what we went in with, was the idea of trying to keep it under 3. So we felt that it was important to keep it under 3. We ended up at 2.5. We ended up compromising at 2.5 for a couple of years and then 3% thereafter, which is roughly the rate of inflation and is significantly less than what the state came up with as part of the good cause eviction law.
10%, I would say it's
Yeah, a lot better than 10%.
absolutely.
But the idea is really to avoid, I mean, we had some horror stories of people getting a 25-30% rent increase in 1 year. And this would eliminate those possibilities, which is, even the good cause eviction does that, but this would eliminate people getting 8%, 9% increases on a year after year basis, which, you know, we can't necessarily keep their rent flat, but we can keep it from going up at a rate that's unsustainable.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of the questions that I had with the coverage, I know ETPA maintains buildings, 1974 or older. Why not include more? Are we just doing that because ETPA does, or is it possible to look at buildings that are built in 1974 to start including more folks through this? Include, doesn't necessarily have to be the brand new luxury apartments.
Well, I mean, the problem is, I go to a landlord that built a building in 1978 and say, hey, we want you to sign this voluntary agreement where you agree to cap renewal rates on your rents. And he says, well, why should I do that? I say, well, because, what do we have no hammer. We have no way to enforce that. I mean, the whole point is that the landlords are coming to the table to do this with us because of the threat of the ETPA. If the ETPA isn't going to apply to them, then they have no reason to deal with us. And listen, it's all about leverage.
Well, in that sense, I haven't done enough looking into this, and doing a million other things, but fiction also is there enough of a kind of an overlap in diagram wise between good cause eviction and this voluntary?
Well, good cause eviction applies to everything before 2010. I want to say
that, yeah.
it's something like that, and then it restricts certain buildings if the landlord's living in it and it's less than 10 units, they're exempt. If the landlord only owns, was it 8 units or less, or 10 units or less personally?
I think it's 6 years.
6. If they own fewer than 6 units, they're exempt. But there is overlap in terms of what you're saying is, okay, well, there's a lot of buildings built between 1974 and 2010 that would be covered by good cause eviction. But first of all, we can't exempt them from good cause eviction. That's a state law. So we don't have the ability. We're going to opt into good cause eviction and bring it to the village, but we don't have the right to say to somebody, you're not going to be subject to this state law. We can exempt them from the ETPA because we're opting into the terms. Let me think for a minute. It's an interesting thought because, I mean, what's the difference between, we have to opt into the good cause eviction, just like we have to opt into ETPA, except the ETPA, we actually have to jump through hoops to opt in. With good cause eviction, we just have to pass a resolution. The problem, I mean, I guess, is it possible that we could come to a side agreement that would, it feels as if it's different in some way. I mean, other people have done side agreements on the ETPA. I've never heard of anybody exempting landlords from good cause eviction or from any other state rental law as a local municipality. But I will think about it. The problem is that, like, the good cause eviction just doesn't have enough teeth to, like, scare a landlord.
Yeah.
You know, 8%, what are we gonna do better than that? They're not scared of it. 8% is fine, but generally.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But it's a good question, something to think about as to whether there's any kind of hammer for the other landlords. But what are we gonna do, not pick up their garbage? I mean, we have very little things at our disposal to be able to leverage.
That's a constructive approach. Okay, another thing that I was looking at, as Alex had mentioned, kind of the 2.5 to 3%, you went through why that's the number that was said. I also curious because as much as the village board is the citizens representative in this, I feel that there needs to be more like first hand face-to-face tenant representation here. So I feel that I don't know exactly what this would look like right off the bat, but this percentage should be, the tenant should be a little bit more involved in talking amongst creating negotiations with the landlords for that number. Just because we don't know, you have statistics over the village, through the American Community Survey, through the county, but seeing firsthand what the tenants who are going through, they might not be getting raises. They might not be getting raises with inflation. So if there's a collective number that's not where the ACS is in terms of what the tenants are experiencing, you're not going to see that unless you talk to them. So that's just something that I wanted to raise. Also, with regards to the vacant unit rent increases, I would love to see documentation on everything that requires improvements, like in extreme detail. What quality of material, what they're doing to improve that unit. Because if they're just going, bargain bin and they're saying, oh, we need, if they're making off like bandits without that documentation.
I didn't have the space to go into all the details of what it is. It's either 15, I can't remember if it's $15,000 or $20,000 they have to document of actual costs that have been expended in that unit. Which it was 20? Okay, it's 20. We negotiated, I think it was 15, we negotiated up to 20. So they're exempt only if the unit has been rented for 10 years to the previous tenant. And the reason was that they said, well, if someone's been there for 10 years, we generally give them much more marginal increases. So we need to be able to get it up to market in cases like that. We said, okay, there's not that many tenants that have been there for 10 years that if they left, we were more concerned with being able to preserve the people who are there now and allow them to stay by capping the renewal of their rents. And we also, there's an exemption there for somebody, and I think it's 140% of, it's 130 to 140% of adjusted median income, which means that the way I did the number before, it would mean that if somebody's making about $150,000 a year, the renewal cap would not apply to them. But if the landlord and they were to work that out, but and the reason was that, again, we're trying to protect the people of lower income who really would get hurt by rent increases. That was the goal here. And we did, this was we want people to still be able to move to Nyack, and that's where the vacancy rent cap came from, was the idea that we didn't want it to be that everything just, as soon as someone leaves, it goes right up to market. even if the market might mean a 20% increase off the last listed rent.
One last question, should I even further? The affordable housing set aside, there's no buyout with this?
No buyout.
Okay.
No buyout. No, the buyout is only for new construction.
Awesome, all right.
The buyout, then this agreement would basically say, oh, and by the way, you're gonna give us $100,000 per unit. That would be, I think it would be tough to get them to sign. They're actually not, I mean, they actually, to their credit, and I will say this, I want to say it publicly, the landlords have been, for the most part, and I will specifically single out the landlords at, what's the building? Warren Hills, who have been enormously constructive and worked in good faith. Dennis, they acted in good faith, not good cause. They acted in good faith with us to try to put this together. And I will tell you that they were very accepting of the responsibility of taking on affordable housing. Now, the fact is that the affordable housing is not $700 a month or $300 a month or anything like that. It's at a pretty substantial rent anyway, and it's not that far off in some of those buildings from what their market rent is, but it is capped there. So like, it doesn't move with the 3%, 5%, the way the other units do. Those units have to stay fixed to the adjusted median income of the county. And they were open to doing that. And that was the trade-off. We got slightly higher renewal caps than they allow at the county level, but we got affordable housing, and it adds as many affordable units as we currently have in the village right now. That was the trade-off. Anybody else?
I'll hog the mic.
See, Alex, you can come back in.
So one question.
Sure.
The email from Michael McKee said that there's legislation being introduced to move the units within the ETPA, the units built before 2008. But I have no idea if Levy has any chance for that to happen. However, will there be some way to make side agreement reflect some changes in that as to which buildings will be eligible to be covered by the agreement, the side agreement? You have any idea what I'm talking about? I'm sorry.
I didn't see Michael's email. I just didn't get a chance to read my email since I sent out an email this morning.
Michael says this, there will be legislation introduced that, among other things, is going to make buildings built before 2008, as opposed to 74, subject to EDPA.
Oh, okay, well, then we would do that.
We'll do that.
Yes.
But beside the agreement now, how are you going to provide for that? It's a concern. I know. There's a way to do it, I'm sure.
I know the way we discussed it originally when we first had, just what units over 10, was that we would start with them first.
12, it was 12.
It was units over 12, we would start with them first based on the vacancy study. And then, if that worked and things started flowing well with them, then we would do what other municipalities have done, which is to say, okay, now we're gonna include everyone who's 10 units that would be subject to the ETPA, everyone who has 6 units and up that would be subject to the ETPA, and present to them the same agreement, say, look, we already have these people on it, we're already working with them, you can either join this or you're subject to the ETPA, your choice. I think it would work in the same principle if this legislation does go through, we would do the same thing. So
they want to, you're saying there's legislation to expand the ETPA to cover buildings built before 2008?
Yes, but the chances, I have no idea. It's a non-starter to me, but I don't know the political.
Well, if they did do it, I mean, the only reason we've limited it to 74 and earlier is because that's the law. But if they change the law, I think the one thing, if they said it can be for units of 4 or less, I don't think we've kind of adopted a 12 or less or 12 or more. And the reason we adopted 12, we actually started, I think it's 24 or more. And then we reduced it for the vacancy study to 12 or more. And the reason we did that, the reason we restricted is we said, we just want to be careful of the mom and pop landlords who have a small building with 6 or 7 units and they're not really set up to handle the load. But that could change as well. I mean, we might look at it and say, okay, let's look at, if we did expand it to the 6 or fewer or 6 or more, how many more buildings are involved and how many more units would be involved. We got, by keeping it 12 or more, we got like 75 to 78% of the total available units because, you get the big buildings and you get big swaths of units. So we're covering about 75% of all the units in Nyack built before 1974 with the side agreement, or once we get the ETPA passed, the ETPA.
Final question, I promise. The agreement, is there something in writing? This is your summary. Is there something in writing?
No,
Nothing. Okay.
nothing other than just a different version of this that has the little bit more detail that we pass back and forth.
Okay, thanks.
Just one quick question, with regards to, and I think, Jody, you've talked to folks in leadership in Kingston at a few points, right? Sure, at any point during the ETPA process?
I think you probably did. You did. I didn't talk personally. I mean,
They-
maybe I did.
They've been very you know my bias, but they've been very supportive of tenants. And they've had rent freeze, I think, recently. They had rent reduction. My question is, regardless of this side agreement, have we been kind of tracking our village's metrics and how they correlate with Kingston's? Because if we're having the same kind of income patterns as Kingston, there's at least not necessarily legal precedent, but at least there's a moral precedent there that if Kingston's freezing or reducing their rent, then that's gonna put pressure on our tenants, that they see people in Kingston being able to stay the course and we're not. So I think my question kind of is, are we just keeping track of how we're relating to Kingston in terms of?
I haven't specifically paid attention to any of the jurisdiction while we've been doing this, but if you want to send me information on it, I'm happy to look at it. Absolutely.
Sure.
I have been paying some attention, but mostly in terms of seeing who's passing what, like Poughkeepsie passing, entering ETPA, Ithaca just passing good cause eviction, like that's more what I've been paying attention to, not the, I guess, ebbs and flows of what their housing stock is looking like. And are they, I guess, I'm wondering why the comparison to Kingston, are we the same like size as them, or do they look, I'm just curious, because there are other places that I guess are doing it.
Yeah, we're not overlapping each other, but we're relatively close. The demographics, the history, I think there's similarity. The proximity to New York City obviously is the difference there, but that actually, I think, would work against us in the sense of we're seeing similar income patterns to Kingston. That actually means that we're maybe even doing worse just because we have an economic, global center near us and we're not seeing that trend. Kingston has more of a rough go just because they're further up north.
Well,
People can't compute as
just a quick search right now, just through the city stats on it. I still want to look at the information and we'll still look at it, but just recognize Kingston is a city. It's got 3 times our population and it's got 1/3 of our median income. So it's not necessarily the closest analog to Nyack in terms of that kind of stuff. But I think we certainly have learned from Austining. Austining is the one that taught us about the idea of doing a side agreement in the first place. They're all instrumental. We've learned a lot from them in terms of trying to avoid litigation, because Kingston's been through the wars on that. And so we definitely, any information I can get, I'm happy to instill it in the mix, in the process. Anybody else? All right, it's 7:30, so we can, anybody else for the any comments on the, yeah, sorry. Sorry,
No.
Richard Crosby.
Just a thought, I guess, in terms of Taylor's comment on tenant representation. I know between the two of you and, Bruno and everyone else who showed up, Alex, I guess I'm wondering, is there a way, at least to correspond with the village, to sort of work on, the finer points that you guys want to see, especially the tenants who have been coming? Have there things in this proposal that, after we have some time to chew over, or even now, if you're interested, just you want us to see us do differently?
I don't want to speak on behalf of the tenants. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to answer now.
Time.
I mean, the side agreement.
Yeah, what we presented today. Like I said, it doesn't have to be now, but it would be nice, I guess, to sort of hear from you guys more directly, given now that we have this, what your thoughts are, if there are things you want to see different, are there counter proposals, that sort of thing.
Can we set a public hearing for the next meeting?
We're not, what, for this? No, we don't have any, public hearing before legislation. We don't have any legislation. Yeah, we don't have anything.
Another workshop?
Well, we can do it on the workshop, sure. Either for the next meeting in
Well, I
September.
have one question just
Sure.
about, before we close out. And that would be side agreements and where in the Hudson Valley area have those worked or not worked? Now, I know the email that Michael sent, and it's Michael, he mentioned, how it was not possible to, force the agreement. Once the agreement was made, like say somebody was supposed to do 10% of their building was supposed to be for a certain income. It was an agreement, but it was never enforced. They never did it. Years down the road, the tenants are still fighting it. What's the history of agreements actually being complied with? And that, you know, versus ETPA history we keep talking about, but you keep raising side agreement.
We're still committed to trying to do the ETPA. One of the things that I think it's on the agenda tonight is that we're going to authorize a new vacancy survey.
No,
That's going to do in September. So we're still committed to doing the ETPA, and that's the enforcement mechanism for the side agreement. Is that if they know that if they don't abide by the side agreement, that the agreement gets terminated and now they're subject to the ETPA, that's what we would then lose the affordable housing, but they would then be restricted to the lower caps that are part of the ETPA. But that's the enforcement mechanism. I don't know that if in these other jurisdictions that Michael's referring to, and I haven't seen the email yet, whether in those jurisdictions they have the ETPA as a backstop. Or it might be they did, but they just never had they just never enforced it. I mean, it would be our intention, obviously, to reach an agreement that would be enforced. Right?
I think they're litigating that Kings.
In Kingston, okay.
I thought Austin has.
Austin is the one that had the side agreement that I knew about that we looked at. All right, we're gonna, if anybody else has anything else, when we get to public comment, you can bring up public comment on the ETP or any other subject. In the meantime, we've got to get to our agenda. So we're still on camera, right? Would you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance for the Village Board meeting, July 11, 2024. Pledge of Allegiance. States of America. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. We're doing presentations. We're doing presentations. Leave it up there for Tomas and if Marcy's here. All right, if you'd like to sign up, welcome to the meeting. If you'd like to sign up for public comment, make sure you do so. We'll be doing public comment on any agenda item. During that agenda item, we'll have an open public comment toward the end of the meeting. But welcome to the meeting. We have a couple of things to do. We have 2 public hearings, which we do not expect to be particularly contentious. That will start at 8 o'clock and 8:05. We've got things to do before that. I did want, as is my tendency, that before we have some presentations that we're going to get on the Nyack Tourism Grant and the Community Vulnerability Assessment from Marcy Denker. The Nyack Tourism Grant will be Thomas Schneck. But I did want to see if we have people, is Tim Mills here? Okay, as Tim's being appointed, I want to make sure he didn't wade through this for his appointment. I think that would be it. Yeah.
The matter related to Wilson Bermeo and this architect.
Oh, that's the meeting of the building. After that, okay. We'll do that after the first presentation.
She's not here.
Okay. All right, Tomas. We have a presentation from Tomas Schneck of Visit Nyack, who's going to fill us in on where the Nyack Tourism Grant money was allocated. For those of you that know, we 2 years ago we instituted a hotel tax with the understanding that half of the hotel tax revenue would be allocated toward tourism enhancement efforts, and we decided to do that mostly through the Nyack Tourism Grants, which is a process that is managed by the Visit Nyack organization. and they put out requests for applications. They get applications from organizations that want to do events or programs to generate tourism in Nyack. And then following, those get reviewed by the Nyack Business Council, and the Nyack Business Council makes recommendations, which they've now made to the board, and we're going to vote on them tonight. And I say all that by way of introduction while Tomas sets up his presentation. We can turn off the light, the big light we can take on. It's actually fairly bright given the lighting. That's probably right. All right, good, Tomas. You have a mic there if you want to use it. There's like a real microphone there's the first time we've had microphones for the meeting, so you
I'm
can.
not sure about the,
How this comes across.
why it's so.
Yeah. Yeah, here, 1 second. Thank you so much, Joe, for the introduction. And my name is Thomas Schneck, president of Visit Nyack. Appreciate everybody's attention and also in general already for the support of this program, which is now the third round of these grants, of these tourism grants. I think overall, you've seen updates and probably also a lot of initiatives over the last 18 months of events which were supported by the grants. And overall, I think it's going very well. And as Joe already said, we launched now the third round. And what you can see here is an overview of our proposals who we would like to support with this round. I'm not going to go through these now because I'm going to introduce these ideas now individually. But in total, the idea is to spend $35,000. And you will see it's a wide variety of different ideas. It's about music, it's about literature, it's about outdoors. So it really spans a lot of different ideas how to tourism for Nyack. So let me just go individually into these different initiatives. So the first one is called United Artists in Nyack. That was proposed by Elmwood Playhouse. What they would like to do is, they already started this a couple of months ago, that when they actually put on a performance, that they combine this with the Nyack Art Collective. So the Nyack Art Collective actually brings in certain art pieces which are aligned to the themes of the performance they're going to have then at any given time. And they want to do this for the next 5 different Elmwood shows. And they also want to combine this actually with a restaurant owner with Scott and Show. They actually will also add basically a catering aspect and provide cheese and wine for the opening night. So it's a great idea to combine not just different art ideas, so basically live performance and the art, but also to bring in the restaurant. And the idea is that we would support them with $1,500, and they would bring in about 1,000 people to these different performances. The next one is an idea from Emotions Physical Theater. They want to bring the Rockland Cultural Dance Festival to town. The idea is to do this in April of 25 at the Nyack Center. It's going to be 2 different days. The first day, they're going to show 10 different Rockland Orange County dance companies who will show all kinds of different dance types, from modern all the way to Chinese dance. But the second day, and this is always interesting and for us important when we look at these ideas, they're going to offer free workshop for adults and children who want to learn or at least practice first time ballet, African, hip hop, traditional Chinese, Mexican, and modern. And they think they can attract about people for that. The idea is to support that with $2,000. Then something which was proposed by Hotel Nyack. They want to bring Tito Puente Jr. To Nyack for a nice concert. This is scheduled for June 2025, so it's still 11 months away. They want to do this in the ballroom of Hotel Nyack. Tito Puente Jr. is a very well-known musician. His father was already quite famous, and so his son as well. And they want to promote this together with rooms, so people would not just enjoy the concert itself, but also then stay overnight, which is something we would like to see in these proposals. They expect about 100+ people, and the idea is to support them with 45. Also, from a background standpoint, obviously, the hotels we have here in town are the ones who give us even hotel tax. So we want to be generous here and say, yeah, please do more of that, but we also help you with your own events. The next idea we want to continue to support is Laura Graham's Nyack secondhand shop hop. This is something we have been promoting for a while and also have support for a while. I think it's an overall big success story. We really now have Nyack on the map as being a town for vintage shopping, which is a big thing in general. And we have supported them throughout 23 and 24. And they want to do 2 more in the beginning of 25. And from a business council standpoint, we also want to support that with $1,500. And they expect for those 2 tours, which they want to do in the beginning of 25, another 500 people will show up for these 2 secondhand shop hops. Then something new we were also very excited about, which was proposed by Lily Greenberg, who's a local poet here in town. She's the head of a writing circle called Always Writing, and she wants to organize and really put together the first Nyack Writes literary weekend, which will happen on October 18th and 19th. The 2 different days have different agendas. The first day, October 18th, will have a poetry slam, which will be hosted by the Rockland Poets. And then October 19th, they normally have a weekly writing circle, which you have to pay for. But for this event, they want to do it free of charge. And then they want to end the day with a happy hour at the Nyack Social, where the former Nyack State Poet Laureate Ari Hoey and poet Megan Pinto will be there as guest authors. But they're also going to feature 5 local writers who will also be interviewed by Lily Greenberg, who will be the MC for this event. And they expect about 400 people to come to this weekend. And the idea is to support this with 4,000. Then also an idea we were very excited about was presented by Long Path Fitters, who is obviously a retailer here in town. And she called it the Nyack or Hype Nyack experience. And the idea is really to promote Nyack and all the parks we have around Nyack as a premier place to go hiking. And the problem right now is if you do a Google search and say, what are the best hiking places around New York City, Nyack just doesn't show up. And we want to change that with that brand. So there will be a big part of the grant money will be invested into an SEO and a search engine optimization. So with certain keywords, when people in the future will look for that Nyack shows up. We'll combine this with targeted digital ads. But also very important, obviously, that we have a Hype Nyack map, which shows all the green spaces where people can go hiking. This will be available as a paper format, but it also will be available as visual format and will be housed on the Long Path Outfitters and on the Visit Nyack website. But besides featuring the actual map, it also will showcase all the restaurants who can support a hike by, providing, for example, packed lunch, or also provide an after hike meal. So we call it the hike and a bite concept. So we really want to combine the hiking with all the different restaurant options we have here in town. We already have a couple of restaurants who are committed to support that. But we also want to feature all these nonprofits who do a wonderful job in maintaining these green spaces. We want to promote here like Friends of Riverhook, Keep Rockin' Beautifuls, and others. So that all should be part of that digital map, so we can constantly update that as new partners get added. The idea to be live with all of this would be in October 2024, in about 3-4 months from now. And we want to support this idea with $4,000 and really put us literally on the map with this idea. Then another idea we want to support is something we have also been doing for a while, an organization, company here in town, which is Maureen's Jazz Cellar. They're doing a wonderful job in already creating all kinds of different really fun live music events. The last one was Dancing in the Streets. Now they will have the Nyack Jazz Festival, which will happen on September 15th. And many of us have probably been there. It's a wonderful, very professional way conducted festival, but it's also very family friendly. They're going to have some other vendors there, kid activities, and it's going to offer 5 hours of free music. And this year they're going to have 2 world-class musicians being present, one being Van Hill Pauling and Rafi Boldring. They expect about 2,000 people. We really think she can pull this off again. They did it already last time, and we want to promote that idea with $3,000. Then a new idea, which was presented by Jeffrey Friedberg. Many of us know Jeffrey has been doing work here in town for many years. He has a company called Music for Life, and he is putting together an event which is called Music for Life Night Out. He wants to do this in October of this year, and it's going to be a 2-hour variety show, which includes singing, dance, comedy, and musical theater. It will be held at the First Reformed Church, soon the Ancient Nyack. And the idea is really to feature teen and young adult performers with all kinds of skills, abilities, and challenges. And the event is really targeted to the neurodiverse community in Rockland, Westchester, and Bergen County, as well as in New York City. And so he's been doing this for a while already, very successful with this program, where he really is very inclusive and brings all kinds of different young adults here on stage. And we really want to promote this more and really reach out to other communities in the neurodiverse area outside of Nyack. And I think he has a great way of accomplishing that. He will also work with some local restaurants. So for when this actual event is happening, so it really will bring not just people to the event, but also will support local businesses. And he expects about 300 people for this event, and we want to support it with $1,500. Then another event we want to promote, which is also, I think, a fun one, a new one, is the Nyack International Film Festival version, flavors of that. So the guy behind that is Richard Quinn and his team, and he's promoting the first Nyack Drone and Phone Festival and the first Nyack Sci-Fi, Supernatural, and Horror Film Festival. These are 2 different events, and the first one being in August, so the Drone and Phone Film Festival, and it will feature basically movies which were either shot completely with a smartphone or with a drone. So I think it's very timely and should be a fun event, and I think it's very much on brand for Nyack. And the second one is the Nyack Sci-Fi, Supernatural, and Horror Film Festival, which will be end of October, which obviously is in line with the Halloween activities we have going on already. And so this is a nice way, obviously, to showcase those kind of movies. And both events, like the original Nyack International Film Festival, will be held at Hotel Nyack. He's expecting 300 people in total for these 2 events, and we want to promote that with $2,500. Then something we also have been supporting for a while now, because we really think it's a high-class event, is what the Phoenix Theater Company is doing with the Phoenix Festival. This year will be the 3rd year this will happen. It's a slightly different concept this year. It's much more compressed. It will happen between September 12th and 22nd. Not 4 weekends or 5 weekends we had in the first 2 years. So it's very again, tight from a scheduling standpoint. Every day will be a performance. All performances will be held in the village of Nyack, just in different locations. And what's really cool and we're very excited about is that for the first time it will include free of charge, family-friendly performances in Memorial Park. So this is something we always wanted, and they're doing this year. So you already see on the right side the programming they have already organized. So they're pretty much done from that standpoint. So you can really see that the 3rd year they learned a lot from the last 2 years, and now bring all this experience to the table, so they're in really good shape when it comes to this festival. So in total, they expect about 1,000 people to these different events, and we want to support them with $4,500. Then something which is also new from an idea standpoint, but to want to support it. It was proposed by the Rockland Community College. The background for this idea is we, for a couple of years now, RCC and Visit Nyack, we want to promote more tour operator business coming to Nyack. So the idea is, besides just individual guests and tourists we have coming to Nyack, we want to have a second layer of people coming to Nyack in the form of tour operators. So basically tour buses who pick up people primarily from the city, come up to Nyack and spend a couple of hours and go to our restaurants and to our small businesses. But obviously you first have to find these tour operators who get excited about Nyack and excited about an itinerary. So RCC and Visit Nyack have been working on this for a couple of years. And there's an organization called ALON, and every year they put together kind of I call it a speed dating, where different destinations like Nyack can meet with different tour operators and can pitch basically their individual destinations. And they're going to have this year on October 8th at the New York City Water Cruise, Pier 23. And we want to be there as Nyack, and we want to talk to these tour operators and convince them to come to Nyack and say, you should really add this to your itineraries, to your portfolio. And the cost of that is higher than the award, but the remaining money will be then chipped in from the Chamber of Commerce and from Visit Nyack. But the idea is that the Village of Nyack supports that with $1,250. Then another idea we promoted already last year, but it was a big success. That's why we want to continue that, is the Blocktoberfest, organized by the local, which is a local restaurant, obviously. Travis has not selected a date yet because he also wanted to see how this grand round is going, but it's going to be end of September or beginning of October. And like last year, it will be a combination of family games. The DJ will be there. There will be great German food and great German beer. And last year we had over 300 people there. I'm sure we can organize this again, and we want to support that with $2,000 this year. Yeah, and last but not least, we have a new entry, which was by the Rock Shop. Most of us know the Rock Shop here in town, and they want to organize what they call the Rockin' Concert Series, which is a series of concerts starting in the fall of 2024 with one, and having one for the holiday season by the end of the year, and one in the spring of 25. And it features basically local musicians, students, bands, and adults, and then basically just showcase what all these different people like learn at the Rock Shop. It also will include people who have nothing really to do with the Rock Shop, but Dylan just wants to basically showcase them and put on these concerts. All these concerts will be held at Nyack Center, and he expects that about 1,000 people will come to those 3 concerts. And the idea is that we support that with $750 to make that happen. Yeah, so those were the individual applications. And here again, you can see the summary. And again, it adds up to $35,000. Any questions?
Thank you for all your hard work on this, and I just wanted to let people know this is the 3rd round of grants that we've done. I think we've totaled probably now maybe $120,000 in grants. Do you have that up here?
No, we include the 35.
30, if you include the 35, it's been like 35 every round that we've done. And just so you know, the program's become much more popular because the first couple times we did it, we had grant requests of about 40 to 50,000, and we funded about $30,000 worth. This year, this time, we had over $100,000 of grant requests, which meant that we had to turn down a couple of very worthwhile programs and events, as well as we weren't able to fund some of these events at the level that we otherwise would have loved to fund them. If anybody's here to talk about, they made an application and the application wasn't granted, or they have a question about the amount that we haven't made, this is proposal right now. It's not been, we haven't voted on it yet. So I'm willing to entertain those conversations if anybody wants to have them. But otherwise, I just want to thank Tomas for all the work he does, shepherding these people through the process, as well as then monitoring them after they get the money to make sure the money is spent in accordance with the terms of the grant. So thank you, Tomas. We very much appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to a lot of these. These are some wonderful events by some really good organizations. So thank you.
Thank you.
Marcy's not here yet, right?
Definitely.
Okay. So you're gonna give her a presentation or give us an update on her? What would you do as part of the administrative report? Then we don't have to do it as part of an early presentation. Yeah, I saw that. Yes, come on up. Going out of order. Oh,
Can I just ask a question on this?
I just texted you about it, but yes, go ahead.
Just-
I sent you a text about the barbecue on the 25th. Oh, something else about that, okay, sure.
Now, this is the hotel tax money.
Just grab the mic, there's a mic right there on the table.
This is in regards to the hotel tax money
Yes,
that was received, right?
Yeah.
So now the programs on this particular one, because I didn't know how you were doing that. Because I know earlier on, it was different discussions of what was gonna happen with helping people in the village. So I just want clarity. These dollars that are given to these programs, are they making money?
are they? You're asking, are they
Yeah, like
making
that.
money on the events that they're having?
Right.
I'd have
Are
to,
we funding them to help them to make money, or are we funding them so that people have the opportunity to go to some of these things like the Elmwood Playhouse, the
Yeah.
Nyack Center, free of charge?
I would, well, some of them are, I'd have to look at the list, again, of what was funded. Is it in the, I would say that more than half, at least more than half of the grants that were given to nonprofit organizations. So they're not making money in the sense of like they're turning a profit. A couple of them, like the local does a block party, they're technically gonna make money. Maureen's technically makes money, although from talking to both people that run those events, they don't actually make, given what they spend on it, they don't actually make money, but they do charge for drinks. They don't, I don't. And the, obviously, the Phoenix Festival charges for tickets, although they do have a free event as part of that.
Right, this year, on this proposal. Because I know the previous ones that they had, people had to pay for.
Well, there's one free event. The other events, they're still ticketed. It's a nonprofit organization, but there are tickets involved. I'm just looking to see, do we have the list here? We do. Okay, so Elmwood Playhouse is a nonprofit. Emotions Physical Theater, I believe, is a nonprofit. Hotel Nyack is doing a concert. They're not a nonprofit, but the hotel tax money comes largely from the Hotel Nyack and the Westgate. The Secondhand Shop Hop is not a nonprofit, but it's supposed to help the downtown businesses. Nyack Writes Literary Weekend. It's a nonprofit. Long Path Outfitters is doing it, but it's not really a moneymaker for them. They're putting out a map that will be
Okay,
for everyone.
that's fine. I don't have to-
Okay,
Just trying to figure out what's the whole idea.
is to promote tourism.
So that's what we're going to use the tax money for, just promoting tourism?
That was when we passed the hotel tax, the way that we got the buy-in from the hotels that didn't fight us on it was that we said that half of the money was going to be going to promote tourism. Now, in fact, we've not spent half the money on tourism because we've collected a lot more than the $100,000 that we've given out as part of the tourism grant. So that money is still earmarked, but tourism is a broad category. And the other half of the money goes to the general fund. It goes to fund all the other operations.
The other half of the tax money.
50% is supposed to be allocated toward tourism, the other half is allocated to general operations, but the half that's allocated to tourism has not all been spent. And like I say, if you have a particular project in mind that you think you would like to get funding for, it doesn't necessarily.
That's gonna be my next question.
I thought we were going that direction, so go ahead.
Maybe because how do you promote it where people know about it?
Tomas, you want to talk about what we did to promote the existence of the grants?
So the grants, first of all, the whole process, how the grants are given and all that gets published on the Village of Nyack website. But it's also what we as Visit Nyack are doing is we try our best to inform everybody about these grants. So we go through lists of nonprofits. We posted on our own website. We asked people who else would be benefiting from that. So if you, and you probably were not involved or were not included in my last outreach, so please, I'll give you my card. Let me know.
It's just because there's other things that may be out there. I mean, I just want to make sure that it's all inclusive for everyone.
I completely 100% agree with you. We do have, there are some of the organizations that got money this year would, I think, constitute the kind of inclusivity that you want us to have. But if you're saying that you weren't aware of it and you're a pretty involved member of the community, I would think that we did not do a good enough job of marketing. Now, I will say this is the third round we've done. So we've done this 3 times. We've called for grants. 3 times we've announced grants that we gave, or twice we've announced grants that we gave. And today we're announcing the 3rd round of grants. But we do have, if you, what you're saying is you didn't know about it and you have an event or something that you would like us to pay attention to. Like I said, we have not spent all, we've been very careful to, we spent it in arrears. We collect it and then we spend part of it, but we're very careful and cautious in that we've collected a lot more in the 2 years that the year and a half the tax has been in place. We've collected a lot more than the $200,000, half of which has gone to the NIAC tourism grants. So there is money that could be allocated toward tourism, but that could be allocated to more inclusive groups if that's what you're asking us to do. 100%. I would be enthusiastic and eager to get applications that would help us do more to bring tourism into to do tourism within communities that might not be currently being reached. So I'm with you 100%. And I think I probably speak for the board.
Yeah, I just think it's important that we make sure that the information is out there so that people know that it's available.
Can I just piggyback on that though? I guess from us, of the groups that are in or have been or will be approved, how many are NIAC residents? How many fit some of the, are people of color? Is it a diverse group of people this year? I know in past years there have been a few diverse events, so.
I think it has been very diverse so far, what we've seen in all 3 rounds. And I think all of the groups got money this year and last year, all are NIAC residents. I don't think there's anybody outside of NIAC. And it's a very diverse group from all kinds of different angles.
Except for Phoenix.
I have a question.
Well,
People that want to live it.
well, the Smiths leave, they live in New City, that's correct. But the Phoenix Festival is basically, so the Phoenix Theater Ensemble is in the city, not in New City, in New York City. But the Phoenix Festival is basically just a NIAC institution now.
It's being held.
It's only a NIAC. Yeah.
I have a question, because I'm looking at the list, so some people are repeat people that I see that are applying, so can you apply as much as you want?
You can, but it's also when the business council looks at the different ideas, we really see the grants more as a Kickstarter and then say, we would like to give less and less, or the idea is that maybe in the 2nd or 3rd year, they don't need any support anymore. So if you look, for example, at what Laura Graham is doing with the shop pump, we can definitely, I'm not going to speak for the business council from a funding statement, but you see already in this round, we're doing much less than last year because we already see it's not necessary anymore that we support them. They have such a following and they did such a good job. And that's exactly what we want to see, that we lift them up for the first time, we kickstart them, and then say, okay, now they're on their own and we can really find other projects and fund other projects and say, okay, you're good now, you don't need our help anymore, let's go to other ideas.
Actually,
I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the fact that, first of all, most of the events are open to the public. The Jazz Festival, the Blocktoberfest, and other events. A little bit uncomfortable that some of the events are paid. In other words, you have to buy a ticket. For instance, at the Tito Fuentes the concert, you have to buy a ticket. I don't know how much the tickets would be. And it's great that we're quote unquote giving back to Hotel NIAC, but on the other hand, we're allocating public funds to the hotel to promote a paid event. And I was just wondering if it's possible to allocate a number of tickets that could be given out free of charge. Maybe have a lottery, maybe some kind of mechanism that would allow that. And I haven't gone over every single grant proposal. I think most of them are free events. The Phoenix Festival, we're gonna have a concert in Memorial Park, which, by the way, it's gonna have to be on the upper level because the Great Lawn is not finished yet. So that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But certainly it needs to be accessible for all. If it's a free event, there should be some mechanism to allocate tickets to other people.
I'm only gonna disagree slightly insofar as the avowed purpose of the tax was to promote tourism. And it was not necessarily to say, hey, let's do a bunch of free events that people can get into that they don't have to pay for. It was to promote tourism. Having a Tito Fuentes Jr. concert in Nyack, we hope is going to promote tourism. Now, it might not. I mean, but the idea of having someone who's a name being able to come in and we're giving them money just for the promotion, and I recognize it's a mix. I will agree with you that I like to see that there are events here that are free or modest costs, like, the Rock Shop is probably $10 or something to get into. And some of the events are a little bit more, but I also think, listen, probably the most expensive per ticket price that's going to be here is the Phoenix Festival. But the Phoenix Festival is a really important tourism draw into Nyack. It raises Nyack's profile within the artistic community, and so it's a big tentpole from that perspective.
And they're also doing a free concert.
And they're doing the one free concert, but they're doing a mix. Okay, I just want to, and also go to Louise's point, like that we always want to try to accomplish a lot of things with these, but I don't want to forget that the primary purpose of this was that this particular bucket of money was designed to promote tourism, and we can do that in a variety of different ways, and that's what I agree with Louise about, that we could be adding in a lot of ways.
And this also might be for you and the business council. Have you guys started measuring the economic impact of a lot of these events to see how it has there been a boost in both restaurants and hotel tourism, that sort of thing during these events? Which events are more successful, which ones are not so successful?
So we asked this every time an event has happened. We asked the organizers how many people showed up. We also asked, for example, again, if you take Laura Graham, she has very concrete data around that. She knows exactly to how many stores how many people went there, how much money they spent. It's a little bit difficult for some events where, let's say a Marine starts with dancing in the street, you have 2,000 people there. We don't know ultimately how many people on their way in front of to Marine's Jazz, where else they stop for a drink maybe, so that's very hard for us to measure. So it depends a little bit on the event, how precise we can be, what that economic impact looks like. But it's definitely something I always ask after each event, say, well, what happened? How many people showed up? And if you had other partners, how did they see this event? So we try to do that. I just want to maybe say one more thing from a tourism standpoint. When you look at Nyack, we have all these different stores with all these different restaurants. It's a lot of, we have like 100 small businesses here between Broadway and Main Street and Franklin, and we have a pretty small village. So most businesses would not survive if it wouldn't be for our tourists and for our guests. So it's just something we have to be aware, and this is really where these tourism grants play such an important role, and I can only again thank the board and the previous board came up with this idea, because it's a really pivotal way to make sure that we attract tourists and guests to our village, which ultimately everybody will benefit from, because that makes sure that we have a vibrant downtown with successful retailers and successful restaurants. So I just want to say this one more time, why tourism is such an important part of our economic landscape here.
And I don't disagree with that. My only concern is that we have to make sure that everyone is that everyone is aware that there's opportunities for everyone
Yeah.
to benefit from this tax money to bring people into nine-one. And that we also make sure that you're, or try to the best of your ability, shall I say, to make sure that what you're trying to do, you're accomplishing by bringing people towards and not just benefiting just the people that are here. That's all.
No, I totally agree. And if you have any, I can definitely give you my. And if you have any other ideas how we can get the word out to the mayor's point, we're getting better. I mean, we had many more applications this time than we had 18 months ago when we did the first round. So we're getting the word out, but we can always do more. So if you have any additional ideas, spread the news, please let me know. We will do everything we can to reach as many people who could benefit from these grants.
Okay, I'm gonna take a point of personal privilege just to invite Barbara. Come on up. Penguin Plunge.
The Penguin, I know no one is thinking about.
Take the mic.
No one ever asked me to speak louder. I don't know. Just an occupational hazard. No one's thinking about penguins right now. It's very warm, but I bet we could get the same 1,000 people that jumped into the Hudson River from Nyack Memorial Park on March just to go back again because it is so crazy hot. But I've always loved to come and thank you personally for all your support. It's been 17 years already. And this year, again, we helped 4 amazing children. 1,000 people came in the park. And one of our Penguin Plunge recipients that we helped, it was his birthday. And so they all sang happy birthday to the 16-year-old boy. He was crying. 16-year-old boys don't like to cry in public, but they did. And you're never going to have that opportunity again. So again, I have to thank you all personally. And the reason you were here, you too. I want to thank you all. Yes. I know, we've got red ones this year. Just for making this possible because it brings so much joy to the participants that come because it could be their first time, it could be their love to jump in cold water, but also to the recipients and their families. It does, we get a lot of donations. We were able to give, we raised $220,000 over the whole year. And so each family got $55,000 to help their sick kids. And again, but of course, the plunge itself is the main event. So we have to thank you. We have t-shirts for you. And I just want to say, like some people, when we invite them to the plunge, they worry about what they're going to wear. Like, do I wear a wetsuit? Do I wear a bathing suit? Would like to say you wear whatever you want because we do have the best dressed penguin here. Right here at this very board meeting, we have a person who went in with a suit. And that will be our own mayor. So thank you so much. Thank you on behalf of Penguin Plunge and again, we appreciate your support. Well, we would like to have the first Sunday march of the plunge itself, but we'll be doing some events. I mean, if we can get some places in my mind is always thinking, like, can we plunge into Nyack's pool, Nyack Hotel pool? I'm thinking, right? That sounds good.
Sure, they would love it. You'd be delighted.
It's in March, the plunge itself. We'll put some events together, and if I can think of some other things. Okay?
Yeah, that's right. Can we just go right now?
You know what? Meet you there. I'm gonna do the women's distance run at night
Oh, for the.
in Rockland Lake, and then I'll come personal punch.
Well, thank you for everything that you do. It's a pleasure to be able to host it every year. And I did go in my suit because my son chickened out at the last minute. My daughter wanted to go in with somebody, so I had to go in. And it was very cold and very rocky. It's not so much the cold, but wear shoes because the rocks are very uncomfortable on your feet when you go in there. But thank you for everything that you're doing. We appreciate it.
Again,
We'll see you next
thank
year.
all. See you next year. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I want to bring up next, it's out of order, but I want to make sure we got to him, John Hodash. Or John Hodash, for about an easement on village land behind the police substation. He wants to talk to us about that, and he's here with his client. I'll let him introduce him.
Jonathan Hodash, architect, New City.
Get the mic.
My name is Jonathan Hodash. I'm here with my client, Wilson Romeo. Wilson recently bought this property on, Franklin Street on the corner, Jackson, just behind the police substation. If I may, sort of land up.
It's on Jackson or it's on Franklin?
It's on Franklin.
It's on Franklin.
Here, let me give you this. Like,
Right next to the police substation.
Yes.
yeah, I just. That's the sound, just. And then I made a little package of existing photos and proposed for the building. Might help to. So basically, when Wilson bought the building a few months ago, it's a 3-family house, and it's in so shape. So he was looking to renovate it, add to it, add additional apartments, make it accessible, et cetera. So when he hired us, there were no surveys available, nothing in town records or anything. So we immediately ordered a survey. We started designing an addition, and the addition was to go behind the building, straight back. We didn't know at the time that the house, the property is a trapezoid and the house is skewed to the property lines. So our original intent was to make a fire rated car in the building for a first, and then create a ramp on the outside, create a second fire exit. Unfortunately, because of the way the property is set up, we only have about 2.5 feet, which means we can't do much with the building or make it better or improve it or expand it without a second means of egress to a legal open space. And that's why I'm here tonight. Because what we need is access of property back to the street. So we're asking for a 6-foot easement west side of the police substation property to allow access and egress from Jackson property. It would solely be used for an emergency or secondary exit of the building. Now it allows us to have an exit on both ends, a fire rated corridor, and an elevator in the middle, making all the apartments accessible.
How many stories?
It's right now the building is 2.5. We were going to raise it to the render, make the attic level full height. So we'll have 3 levels plus the basement. So it will look very much like the existing building. You'll get the photographs. You show the existing building and the proposal. There's not much change to the facade. We're just making it bigger.
You're talking about a reservation on the blue building next door to the substation.
Yes.
It's not the one on the next to that. It's just the one building.
Directly next to. So what we're trying to get is some feedback to see whether that's a viable option before we go approach the planning board or zoning board, because if we can't get the easement, we can't build anything.
Coming to us because you need the easement from the village board, it's not a planning board issue. It's not a, Dennis, it's not a planning board issue. It's
You can only grant these.
only us.
Yeah, we can't even approach the planning board. unless we have
I think my email there.
I did see something about it. I just want to make sure.
Seriously, legal hurdles that would not make it impossible, but
I did see your email. I replied to it. But I want to get on the record, that your advice was that.
I'm sorry, wait, did you say this? I missed that.
Dennis said that it's just very complicated.
would not make it impossible, but would make it very difficult
To grant an easement.
to a private party.
Any thoughts? Anything else you want to add?
Well, I guess the next question would be, if an easement's not possible, could we purchase that strip of land at 5 or 6 feet? Or the whole property?
First, the village would have to declare that the property to be sold, that's owned by the village, is no longer needed for a municipal purpose. Enact a resolution to that effect, and then the land must be sold with fair and adequate consideration, which means it's not just gonna be exclusive to your client. It's gotta be opened up to the public, not necessarily by competitive bidding. In fact, I would suggest it not be by competitive bidding, but by perhaps an auction or a request for proposals, RFP.
I gotta tell you, John, I'm very attached to that piece of property. It's very dear to my municipal heart.
But what we're asking for wouldn't really, I mean, it's a parking lot. We're not asking to modify it at all. We're asking for access through it in the case of emergency. It would not preclude the police from using it, really.
No, I'm answering the questions.
Yes, I understand.
There's 2 different issues. One is we keep the land and we give an easement. I told you that.
Very complicated.
You just read my email. I don't want to give my legal counsel detail in public, but I gave you guys all detail in the email, but the legal hurdles would be to granting the easement, but still owning and using the property for the village purpose that it's being used for now. That's one. The other proposal is to sell it outright, and I gave you what the criteria would be for that. So under either scenario,
it would be very difficult for the legal, but not impossible.
Anything else?
Well, I think that's the last question, which was the purchasing the entire parcel. And then it's allowing you to keep the substation.
Speak into the mic, just make sure it's on and speak into it.
The other option would be we can do buying the entire parcel and allowing the police to maintain their. But allow us to add to the top of the building and it works like that.
Third scenario, that wouldn't work either because, again, the two criteria to sell.
We have to sell, we have to pass, whether we sell you a strip or sell you the
The two
building.
criteria is that it's no longer needed for a municipal purpose. If you're going to sell it and then lease it back with that municipal purpose that you just declared previously was no longer necessary, you're contradicting yourself.
Well, at least back it would just be granted in perpetuity.
No, in order to sell.
All right, I think we got it.
Government property.
Where there's a will, there's a way. I don't think that we're averse to the fact that you're trying to do something positive, to build something positive for the community. We'll do an executive session at the end of the meeting to talk about it in more detail because it will involve the potential sale of real estate owned by the village. So just I'll let everybody else weigh in, but I think we will try to figure out a way to allow you to add the value of improving the building and it's gonna end up in more housing than's currently there, right?
Yeah, it would be another successful and all accessible.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, no, so we should talk about this in the- also, there are some other. Yeah, I don't want to bring it up.
Okay, we'll talk about an executive session. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it, John, you coming up. All right. It's after 8 o'clock and 8:05, so we can go into our public hearings. I just need to motion to open them, right? They've never been opened.
The public hearings, I don't believe that.
Okay, motion to open the public hearing to amend section 79(3) of chapter 79. Can I get a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, the public hearing is now open, and this is about to expand the localities of residency for the village treasurer and the deputy village treasurer and to repeal the village board of trustees resolution that combine the positions of village clerk and village treasurer. Do we have anybody that wants to speak to take the public comment on this issue? Do we have any comment from the village board? Seeing nothing, can I get a motion to close the public hearing? All in favor? Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. We will take up the legislation itself in one of the action items in the resolution. May I get a motion to open the 8:05 public hearing on amending 79(2) of chapter 79? All in favor? The public hearing is now open. This expands the localities of residency for the village clerk and deputy village clerk and repeals the village board of trustees resolution that combine the positions of village clerk and village treasurer. Does anybody want to speak on this for public comment? Seeing no public comment, does anybody want to, for the village board? Seeing nobody wants to speak, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
You got that, Linda? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. We will take up the resolution, the legislation in a resolution later on tonight. We need to adopt the minutes from 6/27/2024. Does anybody have any comments or additions or changes to the minutes? I guess I should put a vote. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes? Any discussion? All in favor of adopting the minutes from 6/27? All opposed? Motion carries. We've done our presentation. Action items. 6.1, resolution 24-103, accepting the audited voucher summary. Can I get it on the table? Any comment? All in favor? Motion carries. 6.2, resolution 2024-104, resolution to reject all bids for improvements to the water distribution phase B and to rebid, re-advertise the contract. Can I get it on the table?
Second.
Andy, you want to give us a quick summary of why we're doing this? So the bids received, there were about 4 or 5 of them. But upon reflection, it was decided that the contract that had been bid could be tightened up in ways that would result potentially in better pricing as well as partnership with whoever wins the bid, i.e. the engineering company wanted to make sure that they had the capacity and the equipment and so on. And there was a clarity around scheduling and operations and other factors that engineers can speak to better than I can. But the bottom line is that the contract as let was deficient in various ways. And the board can reject all bids and rebid the contract amended to reflect those improvements. Any comments or questions from the public? Any comments or questions from the board? I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. That's 6.2, 6.3, resolution 24-105. This was the subject of the public hearing. It involves expanding the localities of residency for the village treasurer and deputy village treasurer. Can I get on the table?
Second.
Any comment or question from the public? Any comment or question from the village board? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. 6.4, resolution 2024-106. The other resolution that was subject, that is legislation subject to the public hearing. On residency requirements. Can I get it on the table? Any comments or questions from the public? Any comments or questions from the village board? Yes.
So does this mean that this mic thing?
We're trying to let people hear what we have to say.
You can hear me. So I know this came up, I think, when we were looking for a lawyer as well. Are we gonna look in NIAC first before we do the spread it out to everybody, or when we, if there's a position that comes available, it's out for everybody? Like right to the county for anybody to apply, like are we gonna do NIAC first
Yes.
and then spread it out? That's all I want to know. If not, it's the first choice and then we look beyond.
We absolutely tried to start with the local area. When we did these searches, we started with the local area. And
Okay.
that would be all other things being equal. That would, for lots of reasons. A lot of it has to do with just logistics and travel and everything like that.
Yeah,
But yes, absolutely.
okay.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? 6.5, resolution 24-107, resolution to appoint Jen Hetling as position of village treasurer. Can I get on the table? Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? I just want to say this is a ministerial resolution, but let us just say how lucky we are to have Jen with us as village treasurer, and she does a wonderful job, and we're very lucky to have her service here and her continued service here. Anybody else have any comments? All right, all in favor of the resolution? All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 6.6, resolution 24-108, resolution to appoint Linda Donnelly as position of village clerk. Can I get on the table? And I will also reiterate, which as I said for Jen, Linda's been wonderful. Thank you for joining us. She's been with us now 3 months, maybe? About that. It's always nice seeing her in the building. So thank you for giving us a chance to work with you. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Resolution 6.7, resolution 24-109 to approve a permit application for events at Memorial Park for yoga meetings on July 12th and August 9th. Can I get on the table? We have previously talked about this, and I think we limited it to the dates. Do we have a limitation on the time period?
It was 20 people in 2 hours.
20 people in 2 hours. That's part of the application. It's not part of the resolution, but that's understood. Okay.
Is this a paid event?
No,
We do not generally, the reason Joe asked that is we do not generally allow for paid events in Memorial Park or the Marina Park or in Hezekiah Easter Square. All right, any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. 6.8, resolution 24-110 to approve the appointment of Tim Mills to the Architectural Review Board to complete the unexpired term of German Lanzetta. And can I get on the table?
Motion. Second.
Is Mr. Mills here? Because I asked about, oh, you did, we asked about you before. Mr. Mills, thank you for joining us. And thank you for being willing to serve on the Architectural Review Board. It's a, I would say it's thankless, but it's probably, people yell at you, so it's worse than being, like, if they just didn't say thank you, you'd be okay, but they do a wonderful job there. It's a tough job. Thank you for volunteering to do it. We appreciate it. He comes with a vast expertise in these areas, and so we're very lucky to have him. Any comments or questions?
You just saw.
Sorry?
You just saw.
Oh, you need to see it. Okay, it's a sign. Okay. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Mills, very much for your service. And welcome. Resolution 6.9, resolution 24-111, approving the street closure for October 25th for the South Broadway Halloween Night Market. Can I get on the table? Any comments or questions? We've done this the last couple of years. They do a really nice job. It adds a lot to the spirit of the Halloween. Anybody have any comments or questions? All right, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. 6.10, 6.10, 24-112, resolution approving grants under the Nyack Hotel Tax Tourism Grant Program. Can I get on the table? We just had a presentation from Tomas about this. We talked about it some length. Does anybody else have any other comments from the public or here on the board?
My comment from before still stands, that making tickets available free of charge, not a percentage, tickets free of charge to the community at large. And I'll vote in favor of it, this whole resolution, but I'd like to see that happen.
Okay, anybody else? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 6.11, resolution 24-113, directing the village administrator to conduct a residential housing rental vacancy survey in accordance with the New York State Emergency Tenant Protection Act. Can I get it on the table? Yes, we talked about this earlier during the workshop. I should take a moment to, we'll do it later. Remind me to mention the workshop when we get to the new business. I want to just point out that the vacancy survey that we're resolving to instruct Andy as village administrator to do, if you look at the last paragraph, we want to execute one on September 15th, October 15th, November 15th, and December 15th. The idea is to make it, to give us a better sense of the rental situation across a period of time, so it's not reflective of some irregularities within a particular month. So we're going to do it 4 months back to back, if we need to. All right, any questions or comments? Sure.
Andy, can you sort of explain if there's been any improvements to our survey? Anything in terms of verifying information, what's different? I know there's been some updates to the law that might help us.
Yeah, actually, since last time I went through this, I don't know what the newest updates to the law may be. The last revisions enabled establishment for landlords that don't comply, and did give the village the ability to collect more information than before, i.e. rent rolls, which specify by apartment how much they pay in rent and how much when it was vacated and when it was filled and so on. Beyond that, I'm not aware of any other tools other than administering the survey on a certain date and asking for it to be returned with that as sort of the snapshot date, which I think is important because we don't want landlords to have the opportunity to say, well, let's let a week go by because we're about to have some more vacancies before moving out or something like that. We want to have it be a snapshot on a very specific date
So that if they are interested in trying to kind of game the system a little bit, then we'll be able to do that. Well, we don't have the ability to go enter apartments and see whether anybody's there. Or surface means of verifying the answers.
Pascal, I'm obviously gonna look at it. I'm gonna look at the most recent amendments to the ETPA and tighten up our questionnaire survey and if we can to make it more robust.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
Okay.
We're gonna do this differently. It's always gonna be a pass around the mic.
Like a karaoke. So there are gonna be 4 surveys, right?
Right. Well, if the first one comes back with a result which enables the adoption of ETPA, we won't need to do that.
So you won't do the other 3. The first one that hits, that sticks.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, public comments, yeah, we would take public comments on this, so, grab, Alex.
So it's a question, number one, why do you specify the dates of the survey in the resolution?
We want to do it in the middle of the month, so it's gonna be issued within that month with potentially the return date. That's up to him, that's not locking him in any way.
It's not, I mean, I just think that it says that it's going to be conducted on that date. And if it says so, then
On or about.
on or about, okay, fine, that's number one. Number two, I would urge you to allow the public to be involved in designing the survey. The surveys were flawed in a couple of last 2 we did. And it would be, Michael McKee, for example, would be really helpful.
I think that's probably fine, we will absolutely do that. We have till September to do it, so we have time to get it drafted, get some comments, what.
And the third.
I think we did get, we did have, Michael did weigh in the past on this as well, so we have had public comments.
Michael, I mean, the tenants would like to be involved in the process, we would just like to see
Okay,
before,
we will publish it so people can see it in advance.
and then comment on.
And make comments on it probably whenever we do the public comments on the rest of the ETPA stuff. For probably the first meeting in September. Or we'll probably have to do it in August, because we won't have time, but then we'll have to thing out. Okay, so the meeting in August.
Number three, every time anybody in a tenant site has spoke on this issue, it's always said that enforcement, more than anything else, would make this successful and an accurate survey or not. Now, the resolution will pass, we'll have a survey. The question will become, after that, how are we going to enforce it? How are we going to verify the results? And
Enforce is probably the wrong word there. Validate is the correct. Validate. You said validate, which is what we would really want to do, is validate the results, make sure they're correct. We're gonna set the survey up to be able to get responses that can be evaluated clearly, that there's no ambiguity about, for example, it is not, we will hopefully have language that will articulate that it is not a vacant unit if there is a lease that has been signed on that unit for some future time. It is not a vacant unit if it's currently under renovation and is not available to be rented right now. To be a vacant unit, it needs to be rentable today and it's not rented. That's the way the definition has to be. And that's, if we make that precise enough, it makes it very easy to spot check and say, well, tell us about these units and why they're not rented.
Final question, was the position of the village attorney that entering buildings for purpose of validating the results is illegal? Is there any place that we could talk about that, challenge that, bring contrary evidence?
You would probably take that up with the village attorney.
Okay.
Tell you, the answer right now. You can't. In the United States of America, you have to have a search warrant. If someone does not give you permission to enter, someone with authority, a resident of that unit, or the landlord or the property manager does not give you permission to enter onto private property, a government official cannot enter onto the private property, conduct an inspection to enforce its local laws, its codes, etc.
We're not trying to enforce anything. Mr. Michaels, we're trying
To
to
inspect.
validate.
All right, we're not gonna have a conversation now. I'm just gonna cut that off because we don't have the conversation. The answer to your question is, if you have something to submit that you think there's an argument to be made that we can do that, then feel free to submit it and Dennis can give us an opinion on it. He's given us an opinion, but if there's some different take on it that you want to share, but I would just be very careful to say, I will follow the recommendations of the village attorney in this matter with regard to validation of the surveys, which I hope it won't be necessary. I hope it won't be necessary. And actually, I wonder whether or not the survey, Dennis, is it possible for the survey that we get permission from the owner to be able to enter on the property to validate the results of the survey?
Put that in there,
And they have to approve it. We have to have it signed out.
they don't agree.
They don't, if they don't, but we can ask.
Question there set up very briefly, as you've seen, and as Alex has seen. I have a statement that this is being signed under penalty of perjury, which is subject you to prosecution, which for which you could be imprisoned and fined or both. If someone is going to perjure themselves, your remedy is to go to the Rockland County District Attorney's Office, file a complaint that we have reason to believe that this particular landlord who signed this questionnaire response perjured him or herself.
Except we wouldn't necessarily know that or be able to go to the district attorney about it if we didn't have any way of validating that they weren't telling us the truth. I'm just saying, I think it's fair to say that we could certainly put in, will you give us permission to enter onto the property to validate? And if they say no, they say no. But if they say yes, then we don't have a problem.
Finally, you said there was an opinion from village attorney on this issue. Can we look at that opinion? Is
I
that
don't,
right?
has it been written?
I just gave it to you and I've given it to you before.
I think he's, I don't know if he's written, I don't know if he's given us a written opinion.
Okay, that's what I was asking for. Okay, thank you.
If there was a written opinion, remind me, Alex,
Yes.
I just remind me if I will look to see if there was at some point
You
anything
can
that,
share it. You have that.
it's a,
As the client, you can share my legal opinion with whatever you wish. You can post it on Facebook. But I'm not going to share.
okay, fair enough. You can feel free to ask me about it, Alex. Yeah, Taylor.
Okay, I'm not a lawyer, so that is fortunate. Though I have limits. Thanks for your time, great. So. Is there a way, like 5 minutes?
No, we're fixing it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take it out to 2 if you keep messing around. Go.
Is there a way for the village to have, there's the legal, side of perjury, but is there also any form of mechanism that the village can take that can enact into local law that will increase or create a significant fine? Basically, if we can't necessarily enter the property legally, is there an alternative way for us to, I don't need to say this in any other way, I just lack of a better term, threaten. Say if you're going to perjure yourself and we can't prove it and we end up finding out, there's gonna be a lot more consequence as a result.
I'm just wondering, in that regard, is there a way to not directly verify, but let's say an indirect way, for instance, electric bills, is that public information, Dennis?
No,
Not public.
utility companies are not subject to the Freedom of Information Law. You can submit a FOIL request to Orange Rock Utilities or Veolia Water, and they'll just laugh at it.
What about our own water company?
I think the mayor or the board, you who appoint the commissioners, I believe. I think you can demand it and they and they are subject to it because they're an arm. I know it's kind of weird the way it's set up, but the village's water department is an arm of the village of Nyack.
So it's information that we technically.
Yeah, they are subject to it.
Except that most buildings, the water's not differentiated by you.
What I mean, just trying to put our minds together to find ways, indirect ways.
But just take it one step
Validating.
further very quickly, you would just be amassing evidence that you would bring to the district attorney's office and say, we have reason to believe that this particular person who signed this questionnaire perjured him or herself, and here's the evidence supporting it. That would be the next step.
And the district attorney initiate an investigation. Never did such a-
I couldn't answer that.
Everything in my time. No, I'm just kidding. Two quick questions on that. First, Dennis, it's one thing, and I was just reminded of the fact that I was thinking about it earlier. There's one thing that you didn't mention, which was if the fire department needs to get in, they don't need a warrant for whatever reason.
I didn't
right?
mention if it's a pursuit of an emergency.
Emergency. Okay.
Right, so if the police are pursuing a perpetrator of a crime, or if there's, like you said, a fire, or someone is, in need of medical attention, and the first responders enter the building.
Yep.
And during that, they observe the possible commission of another crime, that is something that would circumvent a search warrant, but if the firefighters go in responding to a fire and they say, hey, while you're in there, can you go knocking on all the doors and see if they're occupied, or vacant and available for rent? No.
That makes sense. The other question is regarding the DA. If there is evidence submitted to the DA, then it's up to them, it's up to their discretion to pursue charges, correct?
That is correct.
So if that is presented to them, is there a way for the village to find that out and to have any form of action as a result? Because
No.
it's possible the
Just
DA
a
just might
political
not.
pressure. The mayor could call up, DA Walsh and say, hey, what are you doing about this complaint? This, we submitted some documentation and testimony. What are you guys doing with that? And the DA Walsh can say, well, you got it, thank you. Let's get to it when we can get to it.
Okay, so the only thing,
Or we're issuing arrest warrants tomorrow. It's up to the DA's office.
okay, the only thing I would say in comment to that is, think creatively in terms of that. I don't have anything on the top of my head right now, so. But think creatively, if that's the case, there might be a situation where the Walsh might not do that in the situation that evidence is submitted, so.
I am generally not eager to manufacture criminal cases against,
No, if there's actually like something being submitted that is,
if we submit something, then it would be up to the DA to prosecute it. I generally think that the issues regarding perhaps potential inaccuracies in the vacancy survey will be resolved short of having to make a filing to the DA. I think that they will likely be resolved by just simply getting more information about every unit that is declared to be vacant and getting an explanation on every unit that's gonna be vacant, which we're gonna make clear that we can do, because we can do follow-up and say, can you explain what happened with this unit? And that will put them on the test, and then they will have to be, and people generally do not want to lie on forms that they submit to the, particularly for something like this.
no.
They don't. They don't, so they don't commit perjury lightly. All right. Thank you, Taylor. Anybody else? Any other comments or questions from the board? All right, all in favor of the resolution? All opposed? Motion carries. 6.12, resolution 23-114, approving the 24 agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension for Phase 2 Stormwater Regulation Education Outreach Requirements. Can I get on the table?
Second.
Any comment or question? Pretty straightforward. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. 6.13, resolution 24-115, resolution to approve an agreement with EvoGov for upgrades to the village website and website hosting agreement. Can I get on the table?
Motion. Second.
Any comments or questions? This is about just doing some tweaks to upgrade the visual experience of working with the website and some improvements to the functionality of the website. It's going to be done as part of the kind of public conversion of nyac-ny.gov to nyac.gov, which yay. So we'll be doing that soon. And we went over with him. He made a proposal, and this is the results of that. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Does this extend to the emails or no?
The emails are separate. Good question. Yeah, Andy, the emails are separate. Done by a separate company. That's supposed to be accomplished by a conversion to Microsoft Windows, which has just not gone as quickly as we would have hoped. I got a whole bunch of emails that didn't get received this week and people thought I was blowing them off. So I'm just gonna tell anybody here who thought they were supposed to get an email from me and they didn't, it's almost certainly our terrible email system. I actually kind of like the fact that our email system is so broken because it basically gets me off the hook for any email that people didn't get from me. But I think probably on balance, we would like to actually get our emails received by the people we send them to. And you know, I know it's only really happening on people who have Gmail addresses, but there are many, many people who have Gmail addresses. So yes, we can do that. All in favor of this motion, upgrade the village website? All opposed, motion carries. 6.14, resolution 24-116 to approve the scheduling of a public hearing on the amendment of village code pertaining to the DMU2 district. Can I get this on the table?
Second.
All right, so we're gonna do a public hearing. Do we have the date for it yet? We don't have the date for it yet because we need legislation in time to be able to promulgate the legislation. But hopefully the aim is to have it for the August 20 whatever meeting, 22nd. And the same is true about the next one. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? All right, public hearing is set. 6.15, resolution 24-117 to approve a public hearing on the zoning code pertaining to the waterfront district. Same basic idea. Can I get on the table? Any questions or comments? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. 6.16, resolution 24-118, resolution to approve an agreement with Brooker Engineering. Can I get on the table? Andy, what's the quick explanation?
They are our village engineer. There's an annual service agreement that's renewed every year.
All right,
Just a suggestion, their formal name is Booker Engineering, a division of, I think it's, I can look it up now, Weston.
Weston and Sampson.
It's SAMSON. It's
Weston and Sampson.
WES, for the record, WESTON ampersand. Samson is without a P, right? You know?
That's
I
right.
think it's SAMSON, SAMSON. So I would suggest making that change. Engineering, parentheses, a division of Weston.
motion, can I get a motion to approve the resolution as amended by the village attorney?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dennis, for the correction. 6.18, resolution 24-119 to approve the reimbursement for incorrect building fee of $47.84. Can I get the motion on the table?
Second.
If anybody has a comment, I swear I will tear my hair out. Nobody's taking me up on that? All right, can I get?
I too have a parking ticket. Can I get our
This is a building permit fee. This is not a parking ticket.
Sorry, can I?
We don't give out parking. We don't give free passes on the parking tickets. People, I get that question quite a bit. All in favor? All opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, departmental reports. Can I get a report, village clerk? Probably not. Orangetown Police Department. I don't think we have any report from them. Village Administrator, Andy. Oh, get your mic. There's a mic up the top. Can we get that for you?
Village?
We didn't meet the OPD this week. We don't meet with them every week.
No. Can we, the next time we do meet with them, can we just get a check up on making sure we know how things are going with panhandling and.
Yes, we get, that's the update. When do you know, it's like the set, it's a conference call, it's fine. We get one the next one. It's usually a Tuesday anyway.
Sorry, my internet connection just went down, but I have it on my phone.
All right, while we wait, want to do communications while Andy's figuring that out? We have communications 10.1. A request from Daquan Kerr for a basketball tournament Memorial Park Saturday, August 3rd and Sunday, August 4th. That's not a resolution, it's just a discussion. Right? We don't have a resolution. I got you with that vote. We had like 17 resolutions to do today, so we're in a pattern, a rhythm. I love the basketball tournament. I think that we had some questions about the length of time on both Saturday and Sunday that the basketball court would be dedicated to the tournament? I don't know if they have, I don't know if they have a rain date.
They did not ask for a rain date. They're asking for the hours of 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, August 3rd and 4th. To use the basketball court for a tournament that involves lots of local and extra local young people
Oh,
and young adults.
is that what they usually ask for in the past?
It's typical.
I mean, it is a tournament. It's fair.
Anybody have a thought one way or the other? I mean, the two days all day, that's the only problem, is that you close off the park, the basketball court to anybody else's use.
I don't have an issue with it, given that football.
Not good, yes.
Yeah, not actually during the summer, which really does help a lot of kids in the community. And I think those are some of the same kids who are probably participating in this as well, right? So it's all Nyack, mostly Nyack folks. I don't have an issue with it based on that.
What ages? Just a bit.
Middle school, I think. Yeah, but he mostly deals with the
For the
kids.
tournament,
Well, the tournament, I think, is adults, but for the basketball night hoops, I think it's like elementary school, middle school kids that he normally
So
is
he-
coaching.
So he's involved in all of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
For the area.
I guess if you don't know, Tyrone McNeil used to run the basketball program, and he was former Nyack police, then former Orange Town Police. When he retired, Daquan had taken it over. In between, there was a few other Nyack residents who also coached and put on the event, but it's something that's really good. And Nyack, it gives the kids things to do in the summer, so, yeah.
you know what? Let me take that. I'm leery about, I don't love closing off a part of the park to outside use for a whole weekend. But the basketball court will probably get tons more use on that weekend than it does on any other weekend, so it's actually using the park facilities in a good way. The one thing I would say is, could we get a sign put up? It doesn't have to be like a fancy sign, but just a sign put up at the basketball court for 2 weeks before that, just to announce that maybe to advertise the thing, but also to say that the basketball court will be closed for that weekend so at least we're giving people notice that they don't show up at the basketball court to play, hoops, and it's closed off for them.
Yeah.
But also it help advertise, if you want more information. So see if Daquan can put something like that together to put up and we can just thread it like we do some of the signs into the chain link. But I think we're okay. Let's get a resolution on that. So, we need to do it. Okay, so we need to vote. Yeah, so we do need to vote on this. Because it's good, our next meeting. All right, can I get a sense of the board that we're generally in approval of this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have our authority, resolve that you have our authority to approve this using your best judgment. The Lighthouse, let's do the same thing with the Lighthouse Swim, which is a swim from Memorial Park to Sleepy Hollow, Kingsland Point Park. It starts at Memorial Park, goes to Kingsland Park. People swim 3 miles in the Hudson. Really impressive, and it's a fundraiser for Feeding Westchester, the Nyack Center, and Soup Angels. They need our permission to go off the park. I don't see any reason why we would not want to do this. We've done it in other years.
Are you gonna be joining them?
I will not be. I will not be wearing a suit. Nor will I be swimming them. If I were to do it, it wouldn't be a 3-mile swim. It would be a 300-yard swim, followed by a water rescue by Nyack Ambulance Corps, or the water fire and water rescue. Any comments or questions about that? Are we all good with that? All right, so rather than make them wait till August 22nd, just go ahead and give them the approval. Yeah.
Just one quick question. I mean, logistically, I'm assuming they have like permissions and everybody in the water, given.
They're very, very good at this. Yeah, they've been doing it for many years, and they have escorts for swimmers and all 9 yards. It also happens kind of early in the morning, so just other events. They also make substantial donations to the Nyack Center and the Soup Angels as part of their fundraising.
And then I would suggest that our final communication that we've not talked about is Adrian Alcaro's request to use the senior center for a end of season meeting of the Nyack Community Garden. Does anybody have any objections to that? All right, so approve that one as too, so they have as much notice as possible, they can have their meeting. Let us go back. Andy, are you ready for your village administrator?
Yes. All right, a couple of things. One, we've found, and we're in the process of hiring, provided civil service degrees, a wonderful individual to serve as a part-time code enforcer to patrol the downtown. We'll introduce him at a future meeting. And hopefully you'll see him. Can you not hear me? Sorry about that. We found a part-time code enforcer to serve as our village downtown patrol. Yeah, we're not calling constable, the civil service won't let us.
We can only say constable with air quotes. He's our constable, but he's not really a constable.
I look forward to introducing him to the board and community. We also, we had some emails back and forth about getting one of those variable message signs that tells you how fast you're going. I bought one of them, it costs $3,500. And we're looking forward to placing it kind of in rotation around some of the gateway roads coming into Nyack. Broadway heading south, Midland heading south. A couple other places may make sense. So I'm looking forward to kind of experimenting with that technology. It's solar powered. And if you want to see one, you probably see them around, but there's one as you come down off of 9W and Christian Herald Road, there's one there. There's also one on River Road heading towards Piermont, which is the actually the model of the bike.
We're purchasing it,
Yeah,
it's $500.
no, it's 3,500.
3,500.
Yeah, that's how much it costs.
Okay, is it, so you're gonna rotate that around? I mean, we do have some problem areas, notoriously problematic areas.
Yeah, you're welcome to send me an email with recommendations for locations and we'll take a look.
And if it proves to be a success, can we purchase more?
That's up to you. You're the budget setting group here, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's good, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so looking forward to experimenting with that. Anything we can do to calm traffic. Marcy Decker wasn't able to join us tonight, but she's working very hard on behalf of the village in her role as sustainability coordinator. And she wanted me to let you know that the village has a climate resilience grant. And it will require some support from the board to help to identify and convene a committee. It's not a rush. The topic will be climate change vulnerability assessment and adaptation planning over the next year or so, looking at questions of heat, flooding, extreme weather, sea level rise, storm surge, and climate-related disease. Just any aspects of climate change which affect our village is part of this planning process, and identifying risks and methods of mitigating them and so on. So she wanted you to know that we have that grant. She wants to start working on it. She couldn't join us tonight, but she'll probably come to the August meeting and we can talk a little bit more about how the board can support that work with your leadership in the community, essentially. So that was the Marcy item. I want to make a mention about the fireworks. We have some thank yous to do. The fireworks, I think, were spectacular. They cost about $18,000. The barge was donated for free by North River Shipworks, which is probably about a $10,000 or $15,000 value. They're also doing barges for Yonkers. We just had great support from the Orangetown Police, the Police Auxiliary, Nyack Ambulance, the fire department was down there. Our own parking authority and DPW did a wonderful job setting up. DJ Marley Marl provided music along with another MC named Juice. We had the national anthem, and a lot of people had a good time. And there's a typical bumper to bumper traffic getting out of the village at the end of the night. So I just wanted to thank everybody involved for their help with that.
Yeah, I just want to say it was a great event. Well done by you. It was a great idea to put the barge out there. It made a whole difference in the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the Nyack ambulance service.
You mentioned.
Did you mention that?
I did.
You did?
So did the MC.
The fire department.
We're very careful now to mention everybody who was involved because we don't want to.
I actually gave speaking notes to the MC and he thanked all the various partners in the events. They did a wonderful job.
I didn't get to thank you for reviewing the finals.
I just stipulate for the record, we want to thank our village attorney for reviewing the contract with fireworks.
Can we, for next year, can we already start planning the fireworks extravaganza? And we talked about it in the park, with the live music. And also maybe try to get some corporate sponsorships, maybe raising some more money. I mean, love fireworks and it's never enough. So I'm just wondering if we could raise some private money as well. And either enhance a longer show or a more intense show. So it's an idea.
Absolutely. The board, I think, needs to form a committee for that. The Parks Conservancy can be the conduit for fundraising. The village can't do private fundraising, but certainly can accept donations if they're raised by others. I think there's opportunities to make the event more of a cultural experience with music programming, with VIP seating, with sponsorships on media and other kinds of things. There's no guarantee that we'll get a free barge next year. So we'll want to have those conversations with North River and see if they're up to it. I will say that our fireworks contractor, he had to deal with some real challenges related to the barge. Because North River was serving Yonkers, another bigger city. They changed the schedule at the last minute. And so he ended up having to be there at times when he wasn't expecting to, paying his crews extra. Upper Nyack has some regulatory issues with the operation of the boatyard, and they kind of caused some concerns as well. So I don't see it as a foregone conclusion that we will get a barge donated next year. It would cost $10,000 to $15,000 most likely to get that service on the market. And just bear that in mind when we talk about a repeat of that.
All right, thank you.
Second here. Our ambassadors program is about to get going. I'm having a meeting with the folks that came across the NIAC Center has hired under this contract tomorrow morning. Tomas Schneck is going to join me. We're going to have a weekly meeting where Visit Nyack will provide updates on current events happening in Nyack. So the ambassadors who will be patrolling the downtown will be able to talk to people and give them flyers. So we're going to start that training process this week. Our next meeting, we hope to bring some of these young people in to meet with the board and be recognized for their work. By that time, it will have been about a month or so underway. I'm looking forward to having a great time with them. They got these bright. Kim's done a wonderful job. She's designed a T-shirt with me. Said the village logo on it. Visit Nyack, the Nyack Center. It says very boldly, "How can I help you? Welcome to Nyack." And Nyack ambassadors on it. So anybody seeing those people walking the street doesn't know exactly why they're there.
How big is that T-shirt?
It's the size of the T-shirt. I'm sorry.
Those are small.
Let's see.
So that is a ton of advantage.
There's a lot of other stuff going on. But leave it there. Just have questions.
Thank you, Andy. Do we have a list of public comment? I mean, you- oh,
sure. Mayor, you're here, which is great now. So could you hear me, everybody? Or no? You can hear me? I need the mic.
Yes.
So I went to the, I guess it was the wake of the firefighter. Nyack, his name, please, again?
Came aboard.
Right, and we discussed him, he was, I think, 100 or 101? 101 years old. And we, correct. So I had mentioned during our last meeting, if we could have something prepared so that we could at least recognize the service, his service, I think that would be great. And if we could, we did discuss it.
People, family members, that was going to be on the proclamation.
Okay, so, right, so if we're gonna do that, I just would like us to have it so that we could let the family come. I think that they would like to be present in that. Also, I received a call, Rod Smith and Leo came, they wanted 3 days in the square, but, we gave them 2. But they only have 1 scheduled for later this month because the DJ Rod was afraid of the weather. Can we give them another date?
Oh, they didn't use one of the dates?
They didn't use one of the dates. Is that possible to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Look out then, for having more good.
Okay.
I want to thank Amir because he let me know about the funeral. Let us all know about the funeral and the wake, which I wasn't able to attend the wake, but I was able to attend the funeral, and it was a beautiful ceremony up at Oak Hill. So thank you very much for that, for letting me know about it so I could make sure I was there. All right, how many people on public comment?
5.
5? All right, we'll give 2 minutes on public comment for each speaker.
Marcy Preston.
I'll give them the mic, Andy. 2 minutes. In 2 minutes.
Want to add in? Good evening, I'm Marcy Preston. I am current president of the Jewish Federation and Foundation of Rockland County and a 30-year resident.
Speak a little bit louder. Into the mic.
Thank you for providing this opportunity for us to address our neighbors civilly on difficult topics. I'm your neighbor. We want to live in peace with our neighbors, yet a number of local NIAC businesses are being attacked and bullied by activists who put forth the resolution you have commendably determined should not be considered. 25 more businesses are on their boycott list because they are either Jewish and or Israel supporting. In parts of Rockland and the country, Jewish children, families, and synagogues are being threatened. This is not neighborly discourse or even passionate but civil disagreement. I leave it to you to decide whether these tactics place an additional burden on the town's already limited resources and if they help grow our taxpayer base by attracting new businesses and families. On October 6th, a ceasefire was in place. Hamas broke it. Since then, they have rejected 17 ceasefire offers. Congress, including 60 Democrats, just voted to instruct the State Department not to cite Hamas Health Ministry figures because they're so unreliable. The use of the term genocide used to whip our neighbors into a frenzy is grossly misplaced. Rather than applying it to Hamas, whose very charter states its genocidal intention, it is used to demonize Israel and the Jewish people. When you defend a side that breaks and refuses ceasefires, share false data, endanger our community with boycotts, threats, and the perpetuation of medieval blood libels like genocide, are you really interested in advancing the cause for peace?
Sorry, ma'am, just please make sure you direct the comments to us.
I long for the days when the most conflict we had in Rockland was determining who was responsible for knocking down the mailboxes in the middle of the night. Back then, the police department was so bored, they actually sent some detectives to take pictures of the muddy tire tracks to match them to the offending vehicles. Neighbors, I hope you wish for a return to those days too. To the board, thank you for doing the necessary, sometimes painful, and almost always under-recognized work of trying to govern a town in this very messy democracy of ours. We appreciate you.
Emily Finer.
I stand here before you, a almost lifetime Nyack resident. I am not your neighbor. I am your resident. I am a former member of this board, a former deputy mayor of this village, and I am Jewish. And I am not going to refute all of the previous speakers' points, but they are mostly false, and they are mischaracterizing many things, including those of us who stand for a ceasefire. So when you took the oath of office, and when I took the oath of office, we were supposed to be providing fair and equal representation to people. You are not doing that. Immediately after October 7th, there were Israeli flags flown on flagpoles. If you want to stand with people who were massacred in an unjust way on October 7th. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is that you have not acknowledged the loss of Palestinian lives. And there are over 40,000 civilians who've been killed in Gaza. And that has been confirmed not just by UNRWA, but recently by the Lancet. I suppose that they're all propagandizing too, because nobody wants to listen to the truth up here. And as for safety, you all listen to a Nyack resident who identifies as queer tell you about being attacked in your town, and you said that you would speak with the Pride Center about it. And you lied. You did not do that. Because when that person then went and spoke to the Pride Center, they had no idea. You don't care about her safety. You don't care about Palestinian lives. You prioritize the lives of some people over others. That is shameful. So on Pride, on the day of Pride, a man came and attacked the Rockland for Ceasefire booth. He attacked the people who were there, many of whom are Nyack residents. You guys don't care. You didn't do anything to launch an investigation. You care about some people and not other people. That is a shame. We stand every Sunday from 1 to 3 on the Four Corners in Nanuet. A little down from us are Zionists. Let me tell you something. We never engage. I have been spit on. I have been called a capo. I have been called a self-hating Jew. We stand there with Palestinians who have people coming up to them going like this and then saying 40,000 more, and you remain silent. All of you. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And actually, listening to you talk
All right, you're out
about
of time. You're done. Next.
I don't know, like, then I got rid of engineering, yeah.
Take the microphone.
Yeah, what can I say that hasn't been said? You have, like, I just don't understand how you can sit up there and pride yourselves on the garden club and the penguin costume, but not listen to the handful of your constituents, whether Nyack residents or not, talk about things that are much more valid and much more of what should be your concern than fireworks. I don't care about July 4th fireworks. Nobody cares about those things. But the thing what I just don't understand is why you just don't put the ceasefire resolution on the agenda and let it speak for itself. If you don't support it, then don't vote for it and let it be, let history judge for itself and let it be that. But to waste everybody's time and to, the anti-hate thing and all these, like what Emily said, talking to this person and that one, and we care, you clearly don't. And I'm sure that, there's, I guess like there's just so many signatures, and I've tried, a lot of people have tried, and most importantly, I'm tired, you're tired, but the 2.7 million Palestinians, a quarter of which are dead, a quarter of which are missing, a quarter of which have been kidnapped and have been massively displaced. And if that doesn't, hurt you, that doesn't make you uncomfortable, and that makes you, have a reason to come here and rebuke what the ceasefire resolution is by talking about the resistance and why we defend the resistance, then that's something that you should look inwards. And yeah, I think you guys should definitely do a lot better than whatever the circus is up here. Thanks.
Andrew Eisen.
That's not necessary.
Hi, I'm Andrew Eisen. I don't really wish to be here. It's unfortunate that I have to make my voice heard today. Is this working now?
I must state my opposition to the call for the board to adopt a ceasefire resolution. A criticism, I say Jewish people are a vulnerable minority in this community with diverse thoughts of Israel and the Israel-Palestinian conflict. We should not be forced to prove whether we're the right kind of Jew, especially against rampant anti-Semitism. This resolution demands public input, allowing us to make public declarations on this issue, which is inherently wrong. Notably, no other conflict is being called out in this matter. Conflicts around the world are immense suffering, yet not subjected to the same scrutiny. For instance, the conflict in Sudan has resulted in over 16,000 deaths and especially millions.
You were up here, nobody did that to you. I want to ask you, please, nobody did that to you. Continue.
In Sudan's resulted in over 16,000 deaths, displacement of millions, thousands of civilians. In Syria, the conflict has caused more than 600,000 deaths, displaced millions with ongoing violence. I'll move on quickly. Ukraine continues to result in significant casualties. Additionally, China's occupation of Tibet, Russia's annexation of Crimea, that have not been subjected to scrutiny despite significant human rights abuses and loss of lives. Instead of this resolution, I urge the Chamber to focus on protecting coexistence, peace, and multiculturalism in our community. Religious Jews in America have consistently been the top target for religious hate crimes. Recently, violence and hate have surfaced against both pro-Palestinian demonstrators and Jewish individuals and institutions. Islamophobia and anti-Semitism are rising everywhere. Local businesses are being targeted for boycott simply for being Jewish or supporting Israel. Please don't bring the Israel-Palestine conflict to the local community. Don't deepen the polarization of the American society. Don't force local Jewish community members to publicly declare their opinion on Israel. I'm requesting that this process be tabled immediately and permanently. Thank you.
Rachel Isaac.
Hello, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you at this extremely difficult time. I have lived in Nyack and I raised my children here, and I know what a wonderful, wonderful place this is. All the people who care here about education and diversity and coexistence. I've also lived in Israel, where I danced in the dance company for Jews and Palestinians, dancing for peace. I know what efforts towards peace can and should look like. The suffering in Gaza is horrible. The suffering in Israel is horrible. My mother lives in Israel. She's 87 and running to the bomb shelter. This ceasefire resolution will not help the Palestinians or anyone else involved in this conflict. It will only help Hamas. It will help Hamas to stay in power. It would help Hamas to continue to use their civilians as human shields, to keep the Palestinian women subjugated, to kill the LGBTQ community, and to hold a reign of terror over the Palestinian people in Gaza and the Palestinian and Jewish residents of Israel. At this time, when anti-Jewish attacks are at an all-time high since October 7th, 400% rise, this resolution will only add to division in this community. Let us be a model for world peace here in Nyack and here in neighboring towns. Let us work together to dialogue, to build and to teach tolerance. Making decisions here about a very complicated and nuanced situation across the world will not bring peace there. It won't bring peace here. But we need to build the bridges here. And that's how we'll bring world peace eventually. Thank you.
Tamara. Sorry, Tamara.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Tamara Foreman. I'm a Nyack resident and the president of Congregation Sons of Israel, the synagogue up the street on North Broadway. I just wanted to share my personal point of view. that I don't think our village board should be taking up positions on foreign policy, including a ceasefire resolution related to the Israel-Gaza conflict. A ceasefire resolution by the town of Nyack will make zero tangible difference in the lives of suffering people in the Middle East. It will not facilitate a rapid end to this devastating war, but it will have a profoundly divisive impact on the citizens of Nyack, and it will further degrade the social fabric of our community that we've already been seeing since this war started. I feel that our town council was elected to administer the business of our town, and the fireworks and the garden, like, that's not trivial. That's the business of our town. That is our quality of life, and that is our community, and that's where we're raising our kids. And these meetings should be dedicated to the business of the town, not to dedicating to fighting a proxy war or reenacting the Israeli-Palestinian conflict on New York soil. This conflict has claimed so many lives here and abroad, including the life of my own sister, who was murdered by Hamas when she was an American tourist. 1996. Nyackers of conscience who have ties to people on both sides of this conflict and who are motivated to act on this issue in a way that actually makes people's lives better, but actually make a difference together if we united in support of humanitarian assistance efforts by those to help those affected by the violence. Something like that would be a far more constructive and Nyack way to handle these types of issues and to channel our despair, our collective despair about this devastating war, rather than divisive ceasefire resolutions that will just further pull our community apart. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all for your public comment. Thank you all for your public comment. We appreciate you taking the time to come speak with us. At this point, I'm gonna I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. All in favor? Okay, we're gonna go into executive session, which means we're clearing the room. We will take no action after the executive session except to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.